knowledge you have. Okay. You said it's only. Take down the question. The West is fostering India as an alternative to reduce dependence on China. The West is fostering India as an alternative to reduce dependence on China's supply chain and as a strategic ally to counter China's political and economic dominance. I am repeating it. The West is fostering India as an alternative to reduce dependence on China's supply chain and as a strategic ally to counter China's political and economic dominance. Full stop. Explain this statement with example. This is a 10-mark question. Right now stage pe do not worry about the word limit. See, irrespective of the fact whether some topic is done or not, this is very basic, no? China, we do not have very good relations with that guy, okay? Just try to attempt whatever you know about this question. Then I will discuss the origins story tak, okay? Your time starts now, you get 10 minutes of time. This is your mains question, okay? This time mains question. Online class, is it audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Last 5 minutes. Good morning, online class. Online class, not the offline class. Done? Remember, you are writing a means answer. Last 3 minutes. You people continue writing. I'm just writing something. Last 2 minutes. Time's up. Done? Finish writing? The question seems fair enough. If you see the question, it is like IR question. That's what you assume. India is there. With India, any other country is there means it's IR question. I mean, no doubt it's IR question, but this is a current affair question, but not the current affairs of 2024, but rather the current affairs of 2022-2021. Okay. See, I constantly tell my classes one thing. With respect to prelims, you have an option to not answer a question. That is also recommended. No one here will tell you write 100 questions, per all 100 you have to attempt. You do that, that's a fool's errand. You don't want to do that. Okay. Unless and until you are 100% sure all the 100 questions ka answers you know, then fine. But otherwise, no one would recommend, in case you want your name on the list, no one would recommend you to answer 100 questions. Rather, it is said, only answer questions which you know, which you are sure, which you can eliminate, which you can deduce. This is told, prelims. Interview pe, you don't have to show them your brainy and try to come up with some answers which are not even relevant to the question. Okay, that in fact puts you on the negative side, or that brings you at a disadvantage rather than an advantage. It is rather better to tell, sir, I don't know, ma'am, I don't know. You have a choice to leave out a question. But mains pe, I always suggest never leave out a question. Whether you know or whether you don't know, you have to answer that question. There's this thing people, the students who would come and ask me, ma'am, how about 20 questions pe? Rather than answering all 20 questions with that limited ichu times, how about I give great 15 questions? Okay, that is I properly segregate my time, I give the proper content, everything for the first 15 questions. Somewhere 5 questions if I leave out also, it's fine, I will get marks here, no. See, that is where the mistake comes in first and foremost. Prelims is not counted for your ranking. Interview is not in your hands. The only thing which is in your hands and which makes sure that you get through this UPSC or not is completely dependent on mains. Not your interview, not your prelims. And this mains pe, there are so many important strategies you have to learn. Okay, especially if you have any idea of getting to the next level or clearing UPSC. At no point of time in mains pe, can you be sure that, I will know first 15 questions. Understanding? Let's assume you know first 15 questions, you will answer it. But later you may realize that the question they have asked and the inference that you have made is entirely different, which means solid marks are gone. Mains pe, they are not obligated to give you marks like your schools and colleges. Acha, this person has written handwriting ke liye 1 mark I will give. This person has attempted, I will give half marks. No, those things doesn't happen. You do not just get solid marks, you get even half marks, 6.5. 4.5, 1.5, 0.5. You get marks like this also. See, first and foremost you have to understand one thing, when it is a mains question, okay, now this question itself you are reading, there are subparts to the question, okay. The marks are awarded based on, before even we correct your paper, we have a key as to if this section of the question is addressed, this section contains only this many marks, okay. Now the second subpart of the question, if attempted, this person will get 2 marks. Based on all those we give you marks, simply read, okay, nice, fancy, put 8 marks and said, no, that is not how your evaluation works. Let us say you have written the first subpart of the question very well and the marks allocated for it is only 3 marks, and you have omitted the rest of the questions, you will get only 3 marks, and that too you will not get complete 3 marks, you will end up getting 1.5 to 2 marks. With 1.5 to 2 marks you can forget the dream of even clearing the exam. Understanding? I always tell, irrespective of what, okay, whether you know or you don't know. See, another way the mains question will be framed will be in such a manner, you know the question sometimes, okay, I am not telling every time, but this kind of questions will always appear in mains. You know the wordings in the question, but you don't know the answer. Meaning, it is like you know, but you don't know. Yes, majority time, almost all the years we have seen this trend. So, it is not going to be like you are getting a question which you have no idea or zero clue about. You know the question, you know the wordings. Now, for example, this question you wrote, it was not something way out of the blue or ordinary. It appeared like a simple current affair question which was talking about China's dominance over India and how India is trying to befriend, US is trying to befriend India. That is all, no? Simple only it appears like. But getting marks in this question is where the challenge lies. Okay? And this was not just IR question or polity question, but it was a real life current affair question ka scenario they have picked and told you. The same thing happened, the issue on this was explicitly dealt with in 2021 and 22. Understand one thing, before all this thing, there is one keyword in the question, and also one more thing. If you have to understand, first and foremost is, when a question is given, you have to always analyze why was this question given, okay? Because if you understand that, your inference cannot go wrong. 95% of the time if people lose the question, it is because they have not understood the question itself or they have misinterpreted the question, okay? So, if you have to avoid that, you have to first know why was this question asked, okay, or what exactly is this question talking about. I told you this question was an exact real life scenario ka 2021, 2022 they have put it here. I could tell it with just one keyword in the question. This was the keyword that told this is a 2021-2022 current affair topic. Just write down up until here whatever I told you. Done? Done? We'll proceed. The entire world was struck with a pandemic. What was that? Yes, we were all stuck with pandemic. This was no news, but every single country got affected. Yeah. There is this current affair update that has come out telling during your pandemic time, okay, 64% of the, in India, 64% of the people living in your BPL, LIG, MIG groups, okay, their occupations got affected, their livelihood got affected, majority people fell below the section they were in. If it is a middle class family, it fell to a low income group family. High income group family will fall into mid income group family, fine, okay, they can somehow survive. Middle income group family falling into a low income group family, fine, very difficult, but can still survive. There is this thing called as low income group and BPL groups. They will fall below, that itself is very difficult. There is something else, one more section, we call it as Antyodaya, poorest of poor. If they fall below, where else can they fall? They are already at the rock bottom, where else can they fall? But straight contrary to that was the percentage of income share of the rich increased even more, and the percentage of income also increased, the percentage of rich people also increased, same pandemic time pay. So, the common slogan rich got richer, poor got poor was very apt during your pandemic time, okay. See, one thing that happened here, okay, one thing that happened here was 2021-22 period of time, okay, largely when we were at the peaks of pandemic, but we got adjusted to the concept of pandemic. We were no longer clueless as to what is causing the disease, we knew what was causing the disease. Medicines were trying to be developed, okay. Companies were fighting as to who will first come up with how many percentage of efficiency. People kept claiming one day, one news, 60% efficiency, 70% efficiency, 80% efficiency. Few people went ahead to claim 100% efficiency. Amidst all this, there were some, again, this is just an inference, if you know who it is, you know who it is. I have developed native medicines which will give 110% efficiency, okay. All these scenarios and all were happening. One country, okay, pretty much in all of the sectors with respect to the world, largely primary sector, secondary sector, tertiary sector. What is primary sector? Excellent, agriculture. Secondary? Tertiary? Okay. India pay largely, if today we give ourselves this tag, we are doing so well, we are earning so well and all this thing, it is because of this sector, okay. Pandemic time pay, one sector that got hit heavily was this sector, because the whole point was lockdown. The whole point was you cannot come in contact with people. We did this concept of work from home and all those things, but it did not work out on large scale. For people who could do with work from home, fine, somehow you could do. This concept of service sector, when I tell, imagine the same service sector. When I say service sector, do not only imagine your IT sector, do not only imagine BPO sector, also imagine housemates, vegetable vendors, hawkers, all these people are also working in service sector only. How are they going to sell you things online? I mean, here is the difference where we say rich got richer, poor got poorer. All the apps giants, okay, they all got richer, they were selling the same produce. But these people whose daily livelihood depended on that completely lost their lives. First thing, they got susceptible because of their location, okay. They did not have access to even basic amenities, okay. If they did not go out and work that day, they did not get money. But the apps people, because we all stayed in home, we all had to order, yeah. During pandemic time, only this delivery people were allowed, yes, which meant the concept of, again this was also your Mains question, but it came in Indian society. During your pandemic time, okay, if you see, again this was one of the spoofs that they said, see, only in pandemic time Bangalore belonged to Bangaloreans because everyone left to their own states. When everyone left to their own states, IT hubs, okay, your Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai and all, when people left back to their states, they were all used to this kind of life, ordering, culture, everything. When they went back to their state, let's say it was tier 2 and tier 3 cities, there also they expected the same thing. And when they expected, it was like a eye candy for all the your rich IT companies. They were very much eager to introduce it here, and now was the best time they could do it, which meant all this delivery services, your food, okay, western foods, modernized food, it was very easier to introduce in these cities at that point of time, which created a boost of economy in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. This was a question asked in your 22 mains, but in society, understanding? So, ours, which was completely service oriented, fell, but the world couldn't stop, right? If there was one thing they still had to realize, see, just because we were in pandemic doesn't mean we stopped purchasing any defense sectors, okay, doesn't mean we stopped purchasing anything which was necessary for countries to run. All of those falls in this sector, your secondary sector. And also in this sector, additional benefit is whichever country, okay, understand this very well, whichever country has a solid manufacturing sector as well as access to rare earth metals and minerals, they rule the world. This is the reason why we are telling. Anyone who has an established manufacturing sector plus they have access to rare earth metals and minerals, they are the ones who rule the geopolitical world. Right on up until here. Fostering meaning consider it like a developing, okay, they are allowing it for the growth. Done? Done? One thing about India's sector is, here is where you will have to relate your 5-year plans, post our independence, that is post 1947, our planning was to be created into something called as 5-year plans or planning commission. Now this planning commission, yes, it introduced, if you see again, you would be made to read that in your economics, you come across this. First 5-year plan agriculture, second 5-year plan, third 5-year plan. If you look at it, for an entire country which is just born, the only importance that we laid to few manufacturing sectors were we had very minimal amount of few heavy industries, that is it. Okay? And the importance that we gave was in 2 or 3 5-year plans, that is it. Because after that what happened was, India entered the phase of the decadal growth of 1960s, which gave birth to 1970s, which was filled with political turmoils. Okay? But the one reason 1970s I am telling you in here is, we started with the 5-year plan where we gave importance not to your primary sector or secondary sector, but we gave importance to something called as social welfare schemes or populist measures. Write it down. Your 1970s onwards, okay, see, we got independence only 1947, somewhere consider 1950 tak no planning happened. 1950, 5-year plan means it is for 5 years. First few 5-year plans were focused only on your primary sector largely, that is where your green revolution, all those things happened. The remaining time is when we entered the period of 1960, there we had actual political turmoil with the China war coming, okay, losing of our prime minister, the then prime minister, whose socialist policy was the one that was guiding India's foreign policy as well as our local politics. That moved aside, and then we started coming into the fact of another war. Post this we had the government or the populist handed over to the next decade of 1970, which rather than focusing on either primarily on any sectors, started the introduction of populist measures which drained and strained the economy. Okay? This started straining the economy. See, when I say populist measures, here is where we introduce the concept of Garibi Hatao. Remember that slogan? Remove poverty. But the same thing was later tried to convert against the Prime Minister itself in the name of Indira Hatao. Okay? It was completely politicized, meaning whatever money which could have been spent for your sector's development was rather spent on populist or welfare scheme. When we say populist schemes, it means it is for the people. See, there is nothing wrong with giving welfare schemes, okay. Still today we have this concept of your Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, okay. We give irrigation, electricity, bijli, everything we give, no. All of those is condemned by your international organizations, because the more you give like this, the country is more put into strain and you do not develop the concept of entrepreneurship in your country. True to an extent, and also the international organizations are telling this puts an undue pressure on other countries which are not giving. That is also true. But one more thing is, ours is a very new country. Okay? At this point of time, the poorest of poor, if we do not give this concept of PDA system we have, right? See, it is no big myth or no big conception that ration shop ka rice that is distributed free, it is not very good for common consumption. Sometimes it smells, sometimes it is spoiled, but still if at all it is stopped, majority people will enter into starvation. But it puts one of the huge strains on Indian economy. This 1970s onwards, this trend started. If you have to stay in power, then you have to keep doing this. That is true today, up until today. A particular state, when it won the election, immediately it gave, I am going to give this free, I am going to give that free, I am going to give this free. Yeah, the freebie culture is not just the articles but even the schemes that we get. I am not going to name states, but a particular state, as soon as it got elected, it started giving 5 free schemes. Okay. So, these things add to the economy wherein they could have used to develop these sectors. Okay. Our secondary sector was not well established. Before we could begin actual development of secondary sector, we started with populist scheme, which was continued by all the upcoming governments up until today. We follow the same thing. Because why? The more I give, the more only they will elect me back. No. Populist scheme's objective is just simple. I need to be in power. And if I am a politician, in my mind, I have to be in power until the day I die. You can't blame them. Okay. So, based on that, they neglected this and they started pouring money into this populist schemes, okay, which was not giving the development. Neither, just because they were doing in populist scheme doesn't mean our human development index increased. No, still starvation, because your death because of starvation is happening even today. Write this down, don't just look at me. Just because of giving populist schemes didn't add any necessary large change in your human development growth index. Okay. So, in a way, HDI, your human development index also didn't increase substantially in the method we wanted. Our sectors also didn't increase. As soon as 1970s this populist scheme started and all, we also entered into a different sector of complete political turmoil, that this, and then we entered into this era of 1990s, which was all about your LPG. Once LPG came into picture, we started pouring into the service sector because this was giving us money, which means we didn't concretely build this sector at all. The secondary sector was not built. Okay, done, clear up until here. So, our manufacturing sector didn't develop, if at all any few industries were there, okay. That also had one other headache. If your government started something, okay, let us say it started a manufacturing plant, industry, one industry it started, one company. What happened was, it was not getting profitable because 1990 LPG era we opened up our economy, which means we were competing with people who are already far advanced. Understanding? With those people are under to government based company, it didn't work out. It fell into loss. Okay? But what will you do? Say, let's say you are a person who have invested your money in a company, but that company is running in loss. What will you do? You will close it because it is giving you more and more loss. That is valid. But because it is a government company, it can't do that because majority of the people who it has employed, their livelihood depends only on that company. Understanding? So, this scenario what I am talking about is from 1970s onwards till today. Okay? The company is there, no work will happen. Okay? Majority times if you see around the city, just once wide open your eyes and see, you will see buildings which were like looking royal but full of it's like eaten away. they would tell, this was that point of time, this company, that company. That company is not in function, that building ka is not in function, no activity or no manufacturing activity will take place. But the people who were working there still get salary. Why? Because if you take them out of that job, or if government stops paying them, they don't have other viable option of earning, which means they will go into unemployment, which means they will be even more burden. Government thought it is better to deal it this way rather than deal it with that. For this reason, we still have many companies which are closed, which do not run the operation, but we still pay salary, which again adds to the burden of government's manufacturing sector. That is why we started with this concept of disinvestments. This is a constant mains question. Okay, where we are trying to dump those kind of companies. Why? Because it's adding, meaning manufacturing sector also didn't get created, that also we couldn't get converted into a viable source of income, nor could we provide, see whatever skills that the people had, that also went wasted. Okay, so our manufacturing sector didn't establish well. To add to our woes, India, geography if you take, we do not have good access to this. We do not have access to rare earth metals or minerals. India has a scarcity of minerals. Okay? Majority of the manufacturing sector depends on your semiconductors, lithium ion batteries for your electric vehicles. None of those minerals we have in our land. So, our condition became like manufacturing sector also not there, minerals also not there. Understanding? And during your pandemic time, the world was running on this, okay, and we had zero, okay, when I say zero, it does not mean absolute. What I am trying to tell is, we had negligible development from our side, but rather what happened was, there was one country, okay, which had excellent well established manufacturing sector as well as accessibility and availability to your rare earth metals and minerals. Guesses? That was your China. Right on up until here. Done? Clear up until here? The entire world ka, okay, I am telling entire world ka, during your pandemic, when we were, see again we were not out of pandemic, but we understood the pandemic. That was your peaks of 2021, okay. At this stage of time when the world was okay to adjust to this pandemic, that is, if we, the more and more we kept in lockdown, the more and more the countries were deteriorating. That is, each day we were delaying the normal operations, we were putting ourselves a year backwards. Okay. So, there was pressure on every single country to resume back, but safely. At that period of time, the crucial period of time, the entire country dependent was on this concept of supply chain, meaning all the goods, all the necessities, whichever was needed for resuming, everything had to be from the supply chain. Supply chain means, understand it is like a warehouse where everything that is needed for you will come from there. but assume that a warehouse is where your China is. Okay. So, which means the entire country was dependent on the supply chain of China, because every mode from packing, see in your pandemic time you would have come across this, where once we were seeing made in Vietnam we are okay, made in Korea we are okay, made in South Korea we are okay, made in China we were not okay. We were trying to source the destination. Yes. If at all a product was said that it is made in China, we didn't want to take it and all those things countries tried to put. This China did it in such a manner, okay, from China I will send my product to South Korea, okay, because it is coming from South Korea I will put it as made in Korea, but who actually is the one who is sending? China. So, and also one more thing was they had to do that because all the products, all the manufacturing sector, all the things that was needed to run the country was all present with that guy. Now, read out the question, someone read out the question out loud.
The West is fostering India as an alternative to reduce dependency on China's supply chain and as a strategic ally to counter China's political and economic dominance. Explain the statement with examples.
They have very clearly used this, and you have to deal with this portion because this is what happened. Understand it this simple words, supply chain, understand it like a group of things, okay, which is needed for you to run your country, okay. This was needed for every single country. Majority of the things was coming only from China, okay, which means people were ready to give and take and buy everything, okay. Majority of our imports, other country imports, the concept is imports, meaning I don't have it with me, but China has it. So, I will go give my money to China, get the product, okay. In this I am also benefiting, China is also benefiting. This was during your normal times, okay. Now, we are talking about the time is 2021 period of time, meaning we have every single country is under the pressure to resume the operation, but with safety. If they have to run the country, they need the product. So, now if I am going to China and telling here dude previously I am giving you money, you give me the product, China asserted its dominance. Because it knew it was the economic overweight, it said just money won't be sufficient for me. You have to make sure I am the one who will decide this in your country, or let us say that country ka neighbor is an enemy of China. Now, China will tell, now you have to tell that country not to do business with you, okay. It started using its economic advantage for its political gains. Okay. This was also fine on a smaller levels, it kept annoying all the Southeast Asian countries initially, fine, they all fell, okay, which meant China became the strongest weight in your Southeast Asian zone, fine, okay, we agreed. Then slowly it progressed to an extent that it started annoying all the South Asian countries, okay, where again all of us were all dependent on China only, again we had to deal with them and then we fine agreed. Which means now it was trying to gain its importance politically in South Asia also, okay, fine. Next it entered Central Asia. Central Asia again if you look at it, it is one of the places where it is landlocked, okay. Central Asia is your landlocked area, which made it difficult. See one thing, again this topic that we are discussing is also another question in the same mains that they have given. Central Asian countries, okay, is where that is few people, political eminent people have always told that whoever possessed the key to Central Asia possessed the key to global dominance, okay. majority of the countries, you know, before 1990 or disintegration of Soviet Union, there were two power blocks, USA and USSR. Yes. One of the reasons, one of the main reasons, I am not telling this is the only reason, but one of the main reasons for your Soviet Union disintegration is its excessive interference in your Central Asia, and Central Asia, okay, made sure the economic drain on United, that is USSR, was so high that it almost collapsed. Okay. Even today if you see, we have powerful countries, USA is there, China is there, that is there, this is there, Russia is there. But do you think Afghanistan pe Taliban rule came? Yes. Do you think no one was at a power to go tell, hey, no dude, you can't do this. Every day your UNHRC will publish reports. This atrocities are happening, that atrocities are happening. Do you think all these countries are blind, they can't do anything? Truth is, they cannot do anything right now. Because again I am reiterating, anyone who holds the key to Central Asia holds the key to global dominance. But one of the disadvantage with this place is same, the manufacturing sector, the supply chain, the rare earth metals, minerals, everything absent there also comparatively whatever is needed. This guy again went in and poked his nose there, trying to assert the dominance. Okay. Substantially he did succeed, because the time we are talking about is everyone is vulnerable. Irrespective of which country you belong to, everyone is vulnerable, including your Central Asian countries. Then he percolated to Africa, then Europe, then he came knocking at the doors of USA. Okay, that is, he countered all the countries from Indo-Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, all the countries ke liye he slowly kept on coming. And then see, we always told before your 1990s it was USA, USSR, then to a brief point of time it was USA, Russia. Today the counterweight to USA is China. When China came knocking at the doors of USA in 2021, it was an alarming thing for USA, because now if it allows China to continue like that only, China will become the superpower. It will replace USA. This is the period of time which was a strong wake up call, because China is dominating economically. This was known since your 1970s itself. It was dominating economically. It had resources, it had your well established manufacturing sector, everything was good. But it started using its economic dominance on your geopolitical scenario. That is, it started gaining political favors because of the economic advantage, and it took advantage of your pandemic time. That was the right time for it to export its ideas, which led it to become a geopolitical concern for the counterweight of USA. Read on up until here. Okay, clear up until here? From here we will little bit sidetrack. What we are going to discuss here is very important for you to form an opinion on your international relations. See, when I keep telling it to you like a story, you will also write it down like a story. Okay, no other place you get structured informations, they all give scattered informations. See, we'll just date it back a little bit. USA was not a country, it was a colony, meaning today whatever USA is there, okay, it was not coming from the beginning. Your 1498, your history page you would have read, Vasco da Gama discovered sea route to India and all those things, right. 1492 Christopher Columbus discovered what he thought as India, but he discovered the sea route to USA. We will just for namesake call it USA, convenience sake ke liye. He discovered that. And there he, as soon as he saw the people, he said, ha, Indians have discovered Indians. When he saw the native aboriginal people of there. But rather still today they have the tag called as Red Indians, okay, or they were the indigenous people of USA. Indigenous people means they were actually the people of that particular place. That also came as your Indian society question, okay, where they celebrate as Indigenous Day. Moving forward, so what happened? Fine, this particular place, the place they called it as United States of America, which was not called before, but it was a colony. Your Britain, okay, or the Europe, they are the most classist mentality people you can ever find, meaning they had the assumption that they are the masters of civilization, which means they are the ones who will go to country, remove the savageness of that country and make them civilized is what they claim. Today we all read in our history textbooks as, your British colonized us, they captured us, they enslaved Africa and all those things, right. Somewhere don't we think in their history textbooks also it should be like that, their students also should study that, but rather their narrative is very different. They are not telling they captured us, they colonized us, they tortured us, they killed hundreds of people in your Africa. No, they are not telling anything like that. Rather they are telling people were so barbaric and all these third world countries were so pathetic that they were not even like human beings. But these people with their noble souls came and made us into the human beings that we are today. They changed the entire narrative, okay. So, they are the same section of the classist people who decided this colony, okay, for reasons ke liye we keep telling now the USA is there, no. It was also a place of land which came under their control. Why? Because one fellow discovered the sea route, so they called it, it belongs to them. There were 13 colonies, okay. Now, when they found the 13 colonies, the people who were not successful in Britain or who were having unemployment, okay, they decided we will go there, at least find a new source of livelihood. Those people all came and moved to your colonies, 13 colonies, that was your USA. This USA pe slowly they recognized, this place, okay, it is not like the conventional climate or food or agriculture cannot be grown like what we were used to back in home. Understanding? So, they started their lives surrounding that particular geography, surrounding that particular occupation. That place was very rich for plantation, okay. It was a huge gold mine for plantation crops. So, they settled there and they started their livelihood there. One thing about your plantation sector is you need huge number of manpower. That is where they, and also at the same point of time they wanted to find money to use this money to go to sea route to India. They thought if we go pick one side USA ke liye they need human capital, another side they need money to come to India, so they could loot us. So, what happened, this Britain people, again the same Britain people, that is your Portuguese and your Italians, they decided we will hit this, both this conundrum with one stone. We go to Africa, pick all the people there, okay, The sad irony was the way they used to purchase human beings in Africa was they would throw gunny bags of sugar and they would purchase human beings. They thought sugar was more important than the lives of the human beings that they purchased as slaves. This is how the concept of slave trade started in Africa, or apartheid system. One of the ways that they have told us that master civilization is different from normal people, one of the primary reasons they used to differentiate between us was skin tone. Okay? They called them blacks. This is one other incident where your Gandhi, when he was told to, you would all read this in your school books, you have to get down from the train. The logic he gave back was, but I am not a black person, I am a brown person. They countered with, black, brown, all of you belong to the same skin type, same livelihood. You are not a match to us fair skinned people. That is what the Britain claimed. So, they purchased slaves from Africa, they sold them in USA. With that money they came and used it to trip their adventures to India. Okay? So, both the issues they solved with one thing. Now, the people who started settling in USA, their children, their grandchildren, everyone, their lives were built around in USA only. Their culture was different, their food was different, because each place ka geography determines the society there. The people who are now being born, the next generation and all, they considered USA as their home and not Britain. Understanding? So, they were the same set of people, right? They were all used to the same culture, same kind of classist mentality, everything was same. When they came to USA, they started seeing that USA or those colonies as their home. But the Britons didn't see these people as their people. Rather, for them, only Britain is our homeland. Any other place, even if it is our own people who have gone there, that is there just to bring the needs or help the needs of Britain. They tried to behave in the same way with USA also. They tried to ask tax and that, this, everything. But these people back in 1700s only, they revolted back. Okay? That is your civil rights fight, where they fought and they told, no, we will not give. That is where they used this slogan, no taxation without representation. Okay? Meaning they said, we are giving you this money, treat us as equals, give us the place in the governance of the country. They denied, and these people told, then we will not belong to Britain. We are rather, the colonies came together and called themselves as United States of America. All these colonies were there, no? They called it as each state. There were 13 states. All the states came together unitedly. That is why the name, United States of America. They gave themselves a name called United States of America. From here, this was back in 1700s only. 1700s begins the concept of USA in the world. Okay? This story we needed because we needed for certain further more issues that we will talk about. One thing about USA, if you have to learn, it is always a protectionist tendency. Okay? Protectionist tendency means first always growth of USA. Then only they will think of other things. From 1700 to 1900, almost 200 years, okay, they were focused on only one thing. How can I improve the economy? How can I make sure I will improve research and development, science and technology? And see, your US at this point of time, from 1700 to 1900, Britain did its same classic mentality, classist ideology. Go everywhere, start fight with everyone, try to establish I am the supreme leader. This is what your Britain was concerned with. USA was not concerned with those things. It was concerned with only one thing. I need to make sure my country improves very much economically. So, it didn't even go to fight with other countries. It was not bothered. If it found gains, then only it used to go. For 200 years, it was growing in silence. You have this particular motivational quote even for you. Always succeed in silence, grow in silence. The same philosophy your USA followed for 200 years. 1900 started. 1900 peak of nationalism in India also had started. The concept of your socialists, concept of your moderates, all this were again history pay they would have taught you or they will teach you. All the places pay, nationalism had started. USA didn't interfere in anything. It was only focused on protectionist, meaning I will just protect my homeland. How? I will make sure I will gain so much amount of money, science, technology, development, everything I will achieve. It was growing and succeeding in silence. Unlike this UK or your Britain, which was an empty vessel which was making more noise everywhere. And it landed itself in the First World War, 1914. Okay? When it landed itself in the First World War, it landed because it thought it was going to prove its hegemony. The word here we will use is hegemony, meaning that is the only global superpower. Okay? It was going to become the global superpower is what it assumed. But the 1914 First World War proved so detrimental, meaning it proved so costly for Britain that even though it won the war, it lost economy, huge amount of economy. Your USA didn't interfere in the First World War, but at the end stage, okay, because it was not a conclusion was not happening as to which country is winning. That time USA entered the fight. Okay, it entered the fight not to win, it entered the fight telling your Britain, I think you need money and reserves and resources to fight the war. I will give you, but instead you will pay me this much interest back. Okay, it entered the war like that. Of all the people, okay, First World War, your source which had your USA, UK, all those side won. But every country apart from USA lost more than what it won. But only USA won 10 times more than what it invested. Because it never entered in the first place. It never entered the war. It didn't lose any manpower. It didn't lose its soldiers. It didn't lose its money. It provided the money when they needed it. Okay? As soon as they won it, it took back 10 times what it got. It was very smart. Always US has this protectionist mentality. Fine, it won. By the end of First World War, your Britain was left almost bankrupt. Now it became mad. Always it was used to seeing so much money, now the coffers are empty. So what it showed, its aggression completely it showed towards the colonies, that is India, Africa, Southeast Asian countries, all the colonies it showed. That is, it started madly accumulating wealth. No, I need money, I need money, I need money. Their madness was what led to our artificial famine deaths. This is also your main question. Before India got independence, India was accustomed and succumbed to a lot of famines, hunger, starvation, death. But this was not natural, this was man-made. The British policies, they were driven so mad that they just wanted to drain the money. The only thing left in us was our blood, that also they started drinking. Excessive amount of death. You know this Hitler killed all the Jew people. That is considered as one of the worst crimes. 1942 Bengal famine. More number of people perished because of your British policies. But we don't even speak about that, or we do not even put that in the list. Why? Because they were the ones who changed the narrative. Understanding? So what happened? They started going mad, crazy, trying to take as much as money from us, but even we became poor. Even the golden goose, how much eggs it can lay, they started cutting the neck of the golden goose. That also died. India entered into extreme, acute, severe poverty. Okay? So it killed the golden goose also. Now it was driven mad. It didn't have any other option. And in the same time it entered Second World War. It is broke. It does not have supply from any of its golden gooses because everything it killed. And it has to win the war, otherwise it will be capitalism over communism, and they cannot let that happen because that will mean destruction of your Britain. At this stage, again USA didn't enter the war in the first place. Almost end tak, okay, your USA didn't enter the war because it was very much clever. Always US has this protectionist tendency. It will never interfere where it will have losses. It will only enter when it has to have profit. Your Second World War started, Second World War is running. USA was minting money then. How? Because everyone had to buy weapons, artilleries, money, okay, ships, this, missiles, everything. Everything was made and prepared and kept by your USA in the form of research and development for the first 200 years. That these people didn't bother because they were busy fighting. They all had to purchase it from USA. The same tactic now China is employing. Okay? It created a pandemic, it created medicines for the pandemic, it created the supply chain for the pandemic all before the pandemic came in, and when the pandemic came, everyone were now running and rallying behind China. Compare the same thing from now on towards your USA, what it did in the Second World War. Every single country is now at the dire need of money, material, supply chain, everything which was coming from your USA. Almost up until the end, the USA never entered the war directly. Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. That was the only formal entry of USA into the Second World War. USA was behind all of the wars, but it never entered the war. But it was minting money from the wars. Whenever a biological war or a chemical war or a war, full-fledged war happens, countries lose more than they gain. But because at that point of time USA was the one who was in control of supply chain, it was gaining more than all the other countries, which was making it the global superpower. 1945 Second World War came to an end, but it gave out a clear conclusion. Your UK or Britain was completely shattered and shambled. What was once the superpower today was a money asking beggar. The world had one biggest superpower which revealed itself only at that time. From 1700 to 1945, it didn't reveal itself to the world. 1945, your aftermath of Second World War, it came out publicly and showcased its might and power with dropping of your bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As I am the world's global dominant. USA was the global dominant at that period of time. That they have tried to continue it. One and foremost thing always USA does is protectionist tendency. Slowly from 1945 onwards, if it had to remain in the top power, it had to make sure of one thing. No one opposite to me should become a global power. But the difficulty at that point of time was your USSR. That guy also posed an equal counterweight. Understanding? Things kept on happening. 1970s is a period with respect to international relations, it's considered as peak of Cold War era. Okay, peak of Cold War era. In this period of time, okay, a lot of countries from 1947 to 1990s is also a period of all the countries undergoing decolonization. Whatever were once colonies were now trying to become countries. India also got, Africa also got, many Southeast Asian countries and all these things. At the same point of time, Central Asian countries or your Middle Eastern countries, okay, they also started coming up with this concept of my country. Okay. Segregation started happening based on geography. Iran, Iraq, okay, Turkey, Israel, everyone started protecting their borders, everyone started forming their countries. One thing they realized, again what have I told you, anyone who holds the key to Central Asia holds the power to become the global dominant. But here the world at the period of 1970 was not unipolar. Global dominant means only one power at the center. But at that point of time in 1970 there were two powers. Which was it? USA, USSR, two powers. Now both of them were trying to fight to become the one power or unipolar. And that was your Central Asia. Who will get the key to Central Asia? Okay. See, one thing about your West, the question starts with the word West and not USA. Read the question again, the first part.
The West is fostering India as an alternative to reduce dependence on China's supply chain and a strategic ally to counter China's political and economic dominance. Explain the statement with example.
They could have simply used USA. West means which other country is there that is as powerful? It is only USA. But always your USA has one concept, it will put all the countries behind it, okay. All similar minded countries it will put behind it, and that is what it provoked your Russia-Ukraine war also, NATO alliance, okay. So what happened, your USA will use any dirty tricks, but its end goal is it has to win. Your Second World War was not won because of money power or muscle power. Second World War, Japan and all these countries were far much more having resources than these countries. But you know how did they win the war? They won the war through your psychology. They didn't win the war through money power, muscle power or extreme amount of it. When they dropped that bombs, it created a mass panic which hit the morale of the countries. First thing your USA targeted to win the war is hit the morale of the country. It always wins the psychological warfare. 1970s the world was facing similar conundrum, okay. If you have to become powerful, then you have to enter into this Central Asia. Countries such as your Afghanistan, okay, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, all those places, Uzbekistan. The very nearby places is your Iran, Iraq, okay. At that point of time, up until that point of time, these countries were not properly nationalized. But in your 1970s, all these countries started nationalizing. And the world discovered one thing, oil reserves. We knew oil reserves from very beginning, but we did not know richest reserves or deposits of oil reserves. That was seen in your twin sisters, that is your Iran and Iraq, okay. In this phase, that is 1970s phase, the 7 sister corporation of USA, that is top 7 companies of USA. See, USA always runs on capitalism. The capitalists are very much protective tendency only, okay. They have to make profit as the end goal. They came and they started with the motive that all these oil companies are there, no, I will bring, they are always very good in R&D. We have efficient methods to drill out the oil, okay. Today all our oil imports are from there only, no. They brought in good amount of scientific discoveries, technology, everything, and they started taking oil out. When they were taking the oil out, it was equivalent to telling now the most powerful one was going to become USA, because the ones who were doing that were US capitalists, which means your USA. Again, US is a complete capitalist country. When it was doing fine, all these countries initially were happy, okay, we are getting some money out of it, no. But slowly as the oil kept on coming out in barrels and barrels and barrels, the world realized one thing. Today we discussed, no, in the beginning of the class, rich kept getting richer, poor kept becoming poorer. Same scenario happened for the country from which the liquid gold was getting out. The country was still remaining poorer only, but the country which was getting it out was becoming more and more and more richer. Understanding? This was observed by that point of time, this was observed by one of the smart head of the states, that was your Iraqi head of state, Saddam Hussein. He did one move which was going to threaten the entire build. You know, your USA was extremely happy, because now in this 1970 peak era, I am going to become the global superpower. It was known in 1970 only because they had the control of those reserves. They were very happy, because it was in no matter of time that we will become the superpower. At that point of time, all this tactics was clearly visualized and seen by one smart head of state, that was your Saddam Hussein, who understood this tactic and did one move which shook USA to its roots. He nationalized all the oil reserves, telling those things are in my land, the resources and richness in my land will be used for my country and my country only will use it. This came as a huge shocker. The opposite party or USSR was extremely happy. It's okay if I don't get it, but that fellow should not get it. So what it tried to do, it tried to support your Saddam Hussein. Okay, its end goal was not that, fine, you will not give me, that is fine, but that fellow should not get. Same catty fights only will happen in your international relations also. This was very much happy thing for your East. Why? Because they thought it's okay if I don't rule, but West should not come to rule. By West we use USA. Your USA will never put up a fight that easily down, because it found its golden goose and it was not ready to do the mistake that your Britain did. It was not ready to kill its goose, but at the same point of time it did not want to lose this control. So, this is where it resorted to its tactic, where it claimed Saddam Hussein was the person who was building weapons of mass destruction. Okay? No one up until then, see, mass destruction, when you tell, you have to have some solid concrete proof. They did not even find any such things. Okay? Any bits and its they tell, they are building mass bombs, they are going to put it on everyone and they are going to kill everyone off. See, if someone has to eliminate a head of state, it is not that easy. They retorted to back 1945 tactic, play a psychological warfare. It threatened all the countries surrounding, okay, complete world it tried to threaten by telling he is a mad dictator. He is going to kill us all. He is building weapons of mass destruction, and he was snatched and brought to USA to kill and hang. But even in that point of time, Saddam Hussein, when he stands on the stand, he still keeps hurling comments on USA and he does not start begging, please leave me. That is the mastermind of the crafter of that particular head of state. And this, now we can talk it openly, because 2015 a declassified file came out telling, okay, one of the person who was a foreign secretary, he came out telling, truth is we actually did not find anything against them, they were not building any weapons of mass destruction. They had to do that back then in 1970s is because they created a psychological attack which was not imminent, but they created the attack, telling this fellow will attack and kill us all, which means US is cemented its claim on that oil reserves. Okay? This is one scenario where it used psychological warfare. Another thing where it wanted to have its power is, see, it always resorts to two techniques. Either by force I will try to take them, or else if the person who is powerful than me is trying to pose back, then I will use the common British tactic. See, you have all known this story where British, Battle of Buxar, Battle of Plassey and all is done to you. Those loser cowards, if they had the capacity, they should come and fight with us, but they do not, but they will try to find the black sheep among us, telling you do not fight us in the battle, then we will make you the king. Yes, this is the age old British tactic. That mentality cannot be taken away from these people are descendants from them only, na? So that mentality they used it back in this scenario also, same 1970s pe Afghanistan they wanted, that is your Central Asia, that is the key to Central Asia ke liye, either from West or East or Central Asia, entry is only through your Afghanistan. It badly wanted Afghanistan ka control, but Afghanistan head of state was pro USSR and not USA. Okay. Now your USA cannot go head on head fight with Afghanistan, because it will be like fighting with USSR, which it did not have the capacity at that point of time. So it created the same simple strategy that these losers created in your Battle of Plassey. In Afghanistan, they found the opposition, which is always angry on the government. Opposition ka main ideology is what I should become the head of state. So it started telling that opposition, see, that head of state is not even regarding you people. You people have to fight back against them. Okay? Opposition was triggered well. Opposition liked this. But to fight that fellow we need money, power, muscle, weapons. We don't have anything. USA become the donor. Don't worry, I will supply you with weapons, money, muscle. In fact, I will even train people for you. Okay? It showed how to train people to fight against the opposition. Okay? It tried to build all this, okay, and it created a section in that society. That was your Al Qaeda. USA created Al Qaeda to fight against the government so that they can put these people as pawns in their place and utilize them to make sure Afghanistan will come under their control. And you all know how it turned out. That was your 9/11 attacks, when they figured out what these people concept was. Because they found another weak person, they put them in place and they left these people. Apart from leaving these people, they even branded them as a terrorist organization. This is what triggered them. We were commonly sitting fighting for this thing. You purposely came, you created these things, you kept giving all these things and you blamed us only as terrorist organization. Now we will show you what we are. That was your 9/11 attack. Same point of time, 1970s, it did one more thing. Same mentality. 1970s period of time, it was peak Cold War era. Your one bloc, South Asia bloc, okay, South Asia bloc leader is always your India. They thought, this fellow can be either way taken off to our side, okay. But we had certain brains in our country which was thinking way ahead of them. We were given an option, either pick NATO or either pick Warsaw. NATO USA, Warsaw USSR. See, today we call ourselves as masters of diplomacy. We do not simply get the title. The entire world we are called masters of diplomacy is for a reason. Because our ancestors are whom? People like Gandhi. We will fight the British, but we will tell we love them. So technically if they hit us back, we are telling the people we love are hitting us. So basically we create an entire world consensus telling, ayo, that Papa people, that fellow is already half dead, you are hitting that fellow. The same psychological trick USA plays on us, we try to play the sympathy card. It's not sympathy card, we also try to play the same psychological level telling human right violation they are trying to do. Constant thing, if you see, Britain got fed up with India is because if they leave Indians, they will keep claiming, we got justice, we got this thing. But if you try to hit them, they tell, the ones we claim are our people, our leaders, our lovers and everything, they are hitting us back. See this. So they were always fed up with India and especially this tactic, and that is what is called as your diplomacy. Diplomacy is one simple art. You can't hit them, you can't leave them. And we are masters of that. That is when they gave us the ultimatum. Pick NATO, pick Warsaw. We picked NAM. This confused even them. Wait, either you have to pick one of us, but you are telling, no, you are both my side, his side, what is this nonsense? But we survived that phase only with NAM. This NAM, 42nd amendment pe, remember preamble pe we added this socialist word. We never added it before. Only 42nd amendment pe we added it. Same period of time we also had Indo-Pak war. See, your Pakistan, we have enmity. Pakistan, India, we were all the same place, okay, but we were like the bitter siblings up until 1970s. Something changed in 1970s. We were the fighters, we kept fighting, anything that fellow did, we fight and all those things. 1970 pe, peak of Cold War era. Again, South Asia was the only zone which was in close proximity with Central Asia. Afghanistan, they tried to ruin it, they brought Al Qaeda and everything. Now they wanted to come to South Asia, India. India though it kept bringing this white flag everywhere. Wherever it goes, it keeps shaking white flag and telling NAM, 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 peace, 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 peace. This kept frustrating USA because its tactics was not working. But it was easier to pull Pakistan on its side. 1970s, USA's best friend was Pakistan. It created a junction. Same concept how it created in your Afghanistan. One unit it pulled out, it told your head of state is not doing anything for you, you should do all this, and then same thing. But we don't have money, we don't have muscle, we don't have power, we don't have weapons. USA, don't worry, I am there to give you every single thing. And it gave every single thing and it created ISIS. Led to the creation of ISIS. So much so that 1970s Indo-Pak war pe we were able to create Bangladesh Do you think with your Pakistan and your USA on one side, we could have did it alone? That is where we added our socialist world. USSR became an ally. Simply we will not add. Of all the time, we know preamble, if we add a word, it will not make any sense. Still why? The father of that point of time Prime Minister was a socialist only. He himself didn't add that word. And that fellow used to never listen to anyone. That person only didn't add means this person added at this point of time. This was our, again, diplomatic way of showcasing. After doing all this also, we kept waving the same white flag, nam, 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 nam. Still today we wave the same flag, still today we call the same NAM. But we don't attend the NAM meetings. Our head of state won't attend NAM meetings, but we still say that. Why? Because now our shift is towards USA. Your USA made sure it created Al-Qaeda. It made sure it created ISIS. It didn't want to. It wanted them to fight amongst themselves and not turn back on this. But everyone turned back. Al-Qaeda turned back. ISIS turned back. Now this is a big problem for them. Okay? Because post 1970s, okay, when it went 1990, India did one more thing, entered into BOP crisis, LPG era. 1972 we became socialist, suddenly why? USSR came to our rescue. 1990 also we thought when we went to BOP crisis we will go to USSR, that fellow disintegrated. He only didn't have money. We had no other option, we had to go to IMF or the West. IMF is nothing but your USA. He is the major contributor. At that point of time we had to shift our policy. See, with respect to every country, it wants to protect its country. Up until then we were USSR, now we had to move towards your USA. Why? They had to give us money, otherwise we couldn't run the country. 1991 BOP crisis and also introduction of LPG era. Thus we moved towards USA. Now this Pakistan guy, he was the best friend of USA. Your USA ultimate target was India only. Now it got India, so it left Pakistan. This irritated Pakistan, which created Pakistan to go against USA. The same period of time, one person took that stray in. That was your China. Now today the block is USA, India, China, Pakistan. Now your India, the answer to this questions is, we are strictly going to fight with India on our side is because India fights against terrorism. The terrorism that these people created is now the mess we are trying to clean up. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all these things that they only created first. But now today because we are on the same side, we try to counter the weight to China. So we form organizations such as I2U2, India, Israel, USA, UAE, Quad, India, Japan, Australia, USA. All this in the Indo-Pacific region. The same region with which China started is now the USA trying to counterweight China in the same region with India as its player. Okay? One thing USA is assuming is, time and again it always has used countries to its advantage. Okay? It takes a country, uses it to its advantage and leaves it off. But one thing it doesn't know about India is, we are also different kind of people who play the same game but in a different level. So it is stuck with India. India has to try to make sure it gains what it needs for India. At the same point of time, make sure that USA doesn't use and throw India. This is where the pandemic time by 2021, supply chain is completely held in the hands of China. All of a sudden, okay, see, it is true, we don't have manufacturing sector, at the same point of time we do not have minerals. The USA signed a pact with India, mineral security, meaning we will share the minerals that we have, that also comes from Japan and Australia, which are nearby to you because they have the access. Same point of time, India doesn't have the R&D for all this. USA signed, okay, Indus X treaty, India, US, okay, your specialist R&D will be given to your India. You know this Elon Musk guy? All of a sudden now they want to start EV vehicles in India, electric vehicles. The main core operation for that, again capitalism, USA will always try to protect itself. It's a protectionist tendency. India has good market for vehicles and they want to make it with EV vehicles. But EV vehicles ke liye one of the main thing is it is a battery operated vehicle. Battery and all its parts ke liye we have to depend on China because it uses lithium ion batteries. We don't have that. This is where, remember I told you, they signed a mineral security. USA signed a mineral security with India, meaning we will provide you that minerals, we will provide you the technology, we will also provide our market, okay, market specialists to come here and set up a plant. You would have heard, from now on iPhones will be assembled in India. Why? It was always China. It was actually manufacturing and assembly, everything was in China, okay. But now manufacturing ke liye we don't have it, okay, we don't have it. But rather they told, fine, let them manufacture but let them assemble here, okay. Through this USA is trying to use India to counterweight China. We are trying to overcome our secondary sector disadvantage in this way so we can counterweight China. Understanding? This was the implication of this question. Clear? Understood? Story time over, write all this down. Switch off the light. Fine. See, anything and everything that happens in our country happens for a reason. Recently, you would have seen this comment against one head of state. Constantly, whenever this particular party ka, okay, the ruling party ka, either the Prime Minister or Home Minister talk, they are always talking about, we are going to remove this from Pakistan, that from Pakistan. We have to tell that we are on the sides of USA. The opposition party always keeps telling, or this slogan, if you would have seen newspapers, you will come to know. This ruling party is married to Pakistan or what? Constantly it only brings about Pakistan. There is a reason why in all the election manifestos and all these things we use Pakistan slogan. Okay? Nothing happens where, we might appear like third world country, oh papa this country, that thing, this thing, but we are one of the master diplomatic people. If you see the level of diplomacy that has been done with India, you also saw this thing where Canadian Prime Minister a couple days back kept speaking about your India, your Maldivian head of state kept speaking about India. But see, observe the aftermath. They either have to retract their words or apologize or resign. This is the tag that we want to create. Ayo Papachi third world country. Okay, that is the tag we actually want this to create. One of this thing, the previous head of state of your USA, Donald Trump, he wanted to put India in the developed country tag. Okay, even if we become a developed country, we will still ask for developing country tag only, because we get benefits. We like the freebies. We give the freebies is because we get the freebies. Once if we are taken out from this tag, we will not get the benefits. And if you are a developed country, you can't play the things that we play now. Okay? There is always reasons, and always understand this with respect to international relations. India might have appeared like another country which is from South Asia, but today India is one of the leading players of the global world. If we are asking, you would have again come across this in questions. UNSCP India keeps asking for a permanent seat. Today the justification is more and more higher. Your Britain exit or Brexit, whatever happened, one of the major reason was your EU didn't want to associate much with India. The countries are breaking open from that union just because they want to have association with India. That is the power that India wields. Okay? And whenever you speak in your IR about India, all other things we are Ayo Papachi country, HDI we are faring badly, okay, poverty badly, we do all that. But diplomacy is one thing that no one can beat us, not even USA. We are today what we are is because of our diplomacy. That is why India is very particular about its UPSC or its diplomats. That is where you come in. You get to decide the same things further. Continue writing. What demand?
How can we associate with USA more? Do we know that the plants are being implemented here for manufacturing industries as well? So, how can we
US is rich in minerals, okay, and also its allies Japan and Australia are rich in minerals. Japan and Australia will not give it to us if we ask, they will give it to us if USA tells. After USA told, we have also formed a mineral security with Japan and Australia too. So with that, we try to first meet the needs of our country without importing from China, then we will do it for the other countries.
Recently, China policy in Africa and minerals in Africa, like policy like 30 infrastructure companies are mineral. Would it affect like they are showing like their political and economical dominance by making this policy? Like Africa is being the most the richest mineral resources. Won't it affect like?
See, at the end of the day, Africa doesn't care if US is the global power, China is global power, or India is global power. It just wants to make sure one thing, get economy into its country. Everyone can go do business there, but using that business, what are they trying to build? Okay, that is, every single country will have association with Africa. Okay, Africa is not just for minerals, also Africa is a biggest geopolitical partner. So, every country has to interact with every country, but still try to become a counterweight to China. Okay. In the area of South Asia and Southeast Asia, no one competes China. Your USA's objective is not to make India stronger, it is just trying to make sure it will make India a better equivalent weight to China, so it will counter China. See, USA has this fear. It doesn't want to make any country powerful or good, because then if it overtakes USA, so its only ultimatum is to make sure India is going to be better only to counterweight China. That's it.
Generally, what is industrial revolution? Why is it like taking place in India? Like recently, in why is it like industrial revolution?
That they will discuss in depth about in history for you. Industrial revolution is a topic of history, they will discuss in deep. At the end, add this point also. See, when it comes to world, each generation span, different particular states will become the head of state or will become the superpower, or in what we call in IR terms as hegemon. In the ancient period of time, it was Greece. Later, as it started moving, it was your European countries. Later, it started moving to your Britain. Later, it moved to USA. To a brief phase, USSR, then to USA, and now to China. The future country on that list will be India. This will be based, now let us say if I sit this and tell it to my interview panelist, I would use this statement. While India was struggling with colonialism and fighting for nationalism, one eminent personality, Aurobindo Ghosh. See, I told you everything, all the wars, of all the wars, the one that hits the most, okay, either create the fear or have effect, is always your psychological warfare. At that point of time, during nationalism struggle, Aurobindo Ghosh stood out and told a word. The goddess of freedom, okay, that is the goddess, has been travelling all around in the world, okay, but now is going to come and set in India. The meaning is, it was very clear and simple and crisp. The goddess of freedom was travelling all around the world, means everywhere else. That period of 1940s, 1930s, 1950s was a period of decolonization. All the colonies were getting freedom. Okay. He said the same goddess is now coming to India, is going to dawn upon us, and a new era is going to usher. That was the psychological connection he played by telling nationalism is going to prevail in India, India is going to become free. Now, when I am going to use the same phrase in front of my panelist, I would use the same set of things. The goddess has been setting, okay, here the goddess of freedom, or here the goddess of hegemony has been travelling all around the world, like we had in Greece, like we had in Britain, like we had in USSR, like we had in USA, like we are having in China, is now coming to set in India, okay, and then a new dawn is going to usher upon us and shine upon us. Coupled with history and current affairs, you will use your government scheme. 2047, India aims and aspires to become Naya India or New India, okay, meaning get us that developed country tag. We tell that, but we won't do it, but 2047 is what we have kept from our government side as our objective. This will be a proper tying up of things. Add it to the last ones. A lot of hearts are coming live, YouTube live. Continue, continue. Done? Done? Yes, no, something, people. Okay. Take down one question. This is also your polity mains question. Write down. Poverty and malnutrition create a vicious cycle comma affecting human capital formation. Full stop. What steps can be taken? What steps can be taken to break the cycle? This is a 10 marks question. If you look at it, we did discuss parts of it in the answer. Okay. Try writing this answer. Okay. Think of it from all the perspectives. Like whatever we discussed, pandemic time pay, what happens to people who follow below LIG? Okay. What happened to people in your 5-year plans pay where they introduced your populist schemes? Try writing, then we'll analyze. Done? Thank you, online class. Understand, when you're writing a question, it is not about what you feel about the question. It should have weightage. Meaning you should have associated points such as, yes, the law commission is recommending this, your civil rights societies. Okay, what are they talking about this? For example, when we say poverty, okay, poverty, one of the ways we can try to avoid is, one way is you have to give education, impart education. Education means what policies are we giving currently. Okay, your RTE Act, Article 21A, all these things you have to have as supporting arguments to support your answer. The paper, just because it's descriptive doesn't mean you will write all your feelings and telling me, this is right, this is wrong. No, you have to mention educated points, meaning your points, whatever is coming, it should have a strong, valid back point to back you. Understanding? It can have Supreme Court judgments, it can have parliamentary acts, it can have international organizations commenting on it. Okay, when your answer is coming out in that way, okay, then it has more weightage, then it is on the path to get you some marks. Do not blindly write just theory and expect they'll give marks. Alright, understand the difference between a descriptive paper and writing your feelings out in the paper. Okay. See, current affairs is not only about you will read some point, you will then use it, or you will just throw it. No. Your current affairs is which will come to your aid to wrap the question properly, to present the question, be it in your mains or your interview. Okay. See, your interview is all about personality test. They are not going to test your knowledge. They have already tested in prelims and mains. If they are going to ask you an issue, let's say they are going to ask you on Naxalism, okay, and they are going to ask you, why do you think only our eastern borders are affected by it? Why not western borders? Why not northwestern borders? Why not northeastern borders? If they are going to ask you that, you cannot simply sit and tell us that this direction pe this happened, that happened. No, you have to have educated viewpoints in your place, which means you have to know about a particular context enough to defend your statement. Understanding? Now, when I said the next superpower is going to be India, I need to have these points there to back my answer up. See, understand one common logic about interview. There is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. Only the answer which you can defend it, one which you cannot defend it. If I can defend well that now it's not day outside, it's night, it's fine. But the ability should come from my defense. That should be, okay, you should have adequate points on your side. That is where your educated things comes from with respect to parliamentary acts, articles, Supreme Court judgments, eminent personalities. Okay. When I say eminent personalities, do not pick controversial people. Even if you personally like them, keep it to your personal use only. Okay. Pick neutral ones. Best of bet is pick your freedom fighters, and that too non-controversial ones. See, end goal is you are not trying to fight and get in any debates or win a prize. Your end goal is clear UPSC exam. Do what is required only for that. After that, you change however you want. That is up to you and your headache. Okay. So, when you write an answer, reassess it. What you are writing, is it right? Is it suitable to the question? Or am I able to back it up with a proper answer? Okay. Writing an answer is not important. Reread what you have written constantly. That is why I never tell you word limits. Right now stage, do not focus on word limit. Pause, read what you have written, read the question, see if your interpretation is right with respect to question. Okay? Reread what you have written and see if you are satisfied with it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. After actually, off my subject, so that subject will start from 1:30.
Okay, I was not informed of anything. Give me a minute, I'll just ask them. Okay, we'll do one thing, we'll end the class. Okay? We'll discuss the question in the next class. Okay? Thank you, class.